all of you have gotten to really incredible places in business and especially in the retail industry. So I really wanted to know who were your role models and, you know, have you been mentored? Do you see yourself as a mentor now? And what have you seen that you do not want to emulate?
I was fortunate, I think, in my early 20s to have some great role models that believed in me and gave me crazy risks when I was wearing vintage clothes. I was, you know, just a mess probably, but presenting to executives, and they trusted me and believed in me and taught me so much. And I do try to do that for others. I think it's really important to give back, to reach into your group and to give them those opportunities that I felt like I had at a very early age. Since then, I haven't had as many mentors. I've had some, we talked about the anti-mentor. Mm-hmm. There are clearly some people in my, you know, as I've gone through my career that I emulate what I do never want to be. And, you know, if I would see myself becoming that, I would like, you know, it would always be a wake-up call. Like, do not let your stress get to the point where you know, you're just an erratic mess with everyone else. So we've all probably experienced those kind of people, and they're not. It doesn't bode well for anyone.
It's interesting when I did speak to Kathleen about this. Like, did you have any women role models? I think you were a little unique, MJ, because, you know, coming up the ranks and pioneering, you know, a career and family. I don't think that, you know, all of us have had support.
No, it's very true. I mean, I feel like it's always been a very male-dominated profession. I remember being very early on, sitting at conference room tables. May Company is the one that comes to mind. It was like, you know, 15 people. I'm the only girl, and I mean girl because I was probably 24 years old. And it's like these older guys from the construction group, and they're smoking cigars in the room because that's how old I am. That you couldn't do that in a windowless room. And you know, I think one of my greatest mentors was Walter Hunt, who was the vice chair of Gensler, and I had the privilege of working with him for a really long time. Can't talk about it, I'll start crying. He passed away in May. But I will say, you know, it's funny, I was thinking about it later on, and my mother was actually a very strong woman. And I think, while I don't think she really was a role model for me in that I wanted to emulate the path she took, she was trained as a nurse, but she gave up her career when she had her daughters. And my father was very old school, traditional, looked and acted like Archie Bunker. So it was challenging for her because she went back to school and she got her master's degree. And I remember her typing her term papers through the night because during the day she's, you know, being mom and cooking and cleaning and all of that. And then when we all went to bed, she's doing her schoolwork, and she got herself through and got her master's degree. And you know, I look back on that now, and it was that work ethic that was instilled in me that I think got me to where I am. Because it's not like I'm looking for any compensation on not working hard. I know how to work hard, and it's just to be recognized for that. And I think Walter was just so exemplary in recognizing he was sex agnostic, and you worked hard, you were worth his time.
This woman sitting in the chair right over here and I had a conversation one night when we were the only women at a table full of women that were working and had kids. And so we were swapping stories, and I told her I had always looked up to her as a role model because of everything she's accomplished. And with the two beautiful girls in the front row. My mom worked, but she worked part-time, and the hours that you guys put in and to still make sure that you're there for your kids, it's impressive.
I think I got the most strength out of my women peers. And you know, being in a leadership position now, there are less and less, you know, leadership role models to take place. But I think that I learned from that to always be a mentor and a support to the people that work for me, because they're like family to me, and especially the women. And you know, there is a long ways to go still in our industry, because it is still male dominated in some way.
You know, it's funny because I think you also have to help balance the demands, right? Because we all understand what it's like to have children and a career. But then there's kind of the other half of the spectrum where there's women that have become very successful but don't have children. And they want to help that next generation as much as we do. Mm-hmm. But I think they tend to not, they don't understand the demands of family life quite the same we do. So sometimes they're pushing the younger women at a time when they do need to figure out the balance between their children and their career. Sometimes that puts an undue burden on them. So it's really being able to walk in their shoes and understand and see what kind of flexibility you can afford them to give them the space to grow as they can.
Yeah, I think flexibility is very important. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that a little. Linda, you had a great example.
I was started my career when there was this movement of women being accepted in careers, and I've always had such a great opportunity. But there's one woman, Rosemary Bravo. I'm not sure if everyone knows Rosemary Bravo, but she started out. We've kind of connected right away. We were this, like the two Italian girls, and she grew up in the Bronx and went to Macy's Herald Square, and she just became like this magnificent woman in the retail industry. Changed Saks, went to Burberry, sits on the board of directors for Estee Lauder and Tiffany and at Godiva. And I knew of her all along, but really met her at Godiva when I first started 7 years ago. And she was tremendous to influence on me. And I've listened to her speak at different events, and she said that when she was at Saks, she used to walk around and say hello to everyone in the morning, and then, someone would be pregnant and she would say, "How's the baby?" Just to be a human being and just to really feel what people go through. I mean, everyone gets up in the morning, leaves their house, their kids, their husband, or their furniture, whatever. They leave the comfort of their own home and they come to work. And I think it's really important that, we encourage people and we're honest and have true feelings. I was saying before, the stress of asking to leave early on Halloween has got to stop. Right? You want to go home, you want to get your kids from school because they're super excited. You got to go home and put stuff on and then drive to some little park and treat or whatever they do. Mm-hmm. But that was like so important to me when my daughter was young, to go home and trick or treat. And I've gotten like obsessed about it now. So someone just had a baby at work not so long ago. I'm like, "You're going trick or treating, right?" My baby's 4 months old. But it was like
No trick for them, just treat.
It's just like the human part of it, and then we all have the war stories of working with, those crazy women who just thought that they had to come into a boardroom and be like, this total monster, which you don't have to do that anymore. So I don't think you ever had to do it, but people did, so.